Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. Today we're going to plant carrots, cosmic purple. Now purple carrots might be new to us, but they've been around for more than 1,000 years. Now to grow big, long carrots that don't fork, it's all about two things: spacing and loose soil. Now through the years, I've added sand that my quail have dust bathed in to this area. Now I don't raise quail anymore, but this year I've worked in some peat moss. You want your loose soil to be 9 inches deep. And that's perfect because that's how long these tines are, 9 inches. I poured on some peat moss, about this much. And then I forked down 9 inches and turned it over to work it in. Now, if the rain holds off, when I'm finished planting, I'll film a little area over there to show you exactly what I did. But yesterday I was working so much and I didn't have time to film the prep. I also took the time to crumble the soil, pick out any old roots and weeds, like these morning glories, old trash, or like tape from the cardboard boxes I put down, and importantly, for straight carrots that don't fork, rocks. I thought, there'll be a few rocks, but wow, I was surprised. There were so many rocks. It took me 2 hours to work through that soil. That's the key for big, straight carrots. Now here in the heart of the city, squirrels will dig in here, skunks too. So I want to protect them. And I'll leave this on the whole growing season, but let's get it off for now. Now, cosmic purple carrots, it's recommended to space your rows 6 inches. So I went ahead and watered, and then I measured in 3-inch intervals. So I'm going to sow a row, leave a marker, then sow another row, so they're 6 inches apart. But if I have a lot of leftover seed, I might remove some of those middle stakes and sew closer together. Now I want 1 seed per inch. And when they're 1 inch tall, then I'm going to thin it down to 1 seedling every 3 inches. So from here to here is 6 inches. And here to here is 6 inches. I'd rather take the time now, while it's cool, to tediously sow these seeds 1 inch apart. I'd rather do that now than later, as the temperatures heat up, to do more thinning. But you can just simply make a row and sprinkle in the seeds. Now you're going to have to go back more and do a lot more thinning. Or you can mix your seeds with sand and sprinkle it in. Or mix them with radish seeds and sow those together. And when the radishes mature, because they'll do that quickly, pull those out and leave the carrots to grow. I've done all 3 methods. Now I'm using my own saved seeds. I've been doing that for several years now. So these carrots in the middle, those are the fall carrots, and we're going to leave them now. They're going to send up their flower stalks, and then they're going to go to seed. Carrots are good at looking for nutrients themselves because the roots run down so deep. So I don't plan to feed mine. But if you're concerned and want to feed your carrots, look for specific root type fertilizers. Heavy nitrogen fertilizers can cause beautiful green tops and poor roots. Now straight carrots is about loose soil. And wide carrots is all about the spacing. For these, specifically 3 inches. So what helps with germination? It's all about water. Carrot seeds cannot dry out. For that reason, I watered the soil before I sowed. And you're going to have to water every day until they germinate. Typically in the spring, that's 14 days. In the summer, 7 days. And in the fall, 21 days. Or winter. Some people can sow during winter. So it can take 7 to 21 days for carrots to germinate, and you can't miss watering them. Some people will cover them to hold in the moisture while they germinate, but I don't. I tend to forget, and then they get ruined. Now I finished 5 rows. And I decided I'm going to leave those in between stakes and either come back later and sow some more or just leave it there for the fall planting. Now don't drown your carrot seeds in soil. They're very tiny. So I'm going to lightly sift some peat moss. And then I'm going to water it all. Now they're protected from those digging animals. Now these are going to be ready here in North Central Maryland in July. Now before it rains, I need to film and show you how I prepped this area. Remember, water your carrot seeds every day and come back and check for an update. Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. Today it's time for a cosmic purple carrot update and hopefully a harvest. Now what you see in the middle is a fall carrot, planted the fall of 2023. And over here, this is our first sowing mid-April. And the rest of these were our second sowing in late May. Now the fall carrot I left through the winter, and now it's going to seed. But it's falling over, so it's time to give it some support. Now, how do I know if the carrots are ready? Two ways. Days to maturity, and for cosmic purple, it's about 70 days. And today is the 71st day, so that's time. And second, move the soil and look at the top of the carrot. This variety tends to be 1 inch in diameter. Now the best way I've found to harvest carrots is to first push down and then pull them out. Now cosmic purple carrots tend to be 6 to 7 inches long, so this is full size. Now let's see how many more we can harvest. Now the first sowing struggled because I had left 5 fall carrots that had bushed out and some strawberries in the corner, and they were just providing too much shade. That's why only this one corner of the first sowing germinated. I removed all those plants, and it's given the second sowing room to grow. Now, the second sowing should be ready to harvest at the very end of July. Both the first and second sowing were planted in rows that were 6 inches apart. And the first sowing, I spaced the seeds 3 inches apart, but In the second sowing, May was such a busy month, I simply sprinkled seeds along the row and went back later and thinned. I thinned them 1 to 3 inches apart, so they are growing closer together, meaning they might be smaller in diameter. We'll see. Now, I don't feed my carrots, but I do water every day. Now, while the netting's off, let's take the opportunity to weed. That wasn't too bad. There were just a few weeds. But let's get this netting back on to protect these carrots from digging animals. Now this month, July, we're going to sow again for fall carrots. And in this area, I'm preparing the soil. I'm digging in some peat moss and some diatomaceous earth. I think that's how you spell it. I had it left over from when I raised quail. I used it for their dust baths. So I'm mixing that all in and getting rid of any rocks. Here's all the ones I've found so far. It's still a work in progress, and you want loose soil 9 inches deep. Now let's go ahead, process, and store these carrots. Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. It's the end of July and it's time to harvest the purple cosmic carrots. Now this is my second sowing, planted May 20th, and it has the netting to protect it from digging wildlife here in the heart of the city. But let's go ahead and get this off. Because these are an heirloom variety, I've been saving my own seed for years. But carrots require 2 growing seasons. They have to have the warmth of the summer or fall, the cold of the winter, and then the warmth of the spring or summer to develop seeds. This is from last year's fall carrot, and it's time to harvest these seeds. This variety tends to be about 1 inch in diameter and 6 or 7 inches long. Now you know they're ready by checking the tops. The best way to harvest carrots is to first push down, then pull them out. Now the first sowing video I mentioned that these are going to be smaller because they're sown closer together. Our first sowing we spaced them 3 inches apart, and these are more like 1 inch. Ready or not, I'm going to harvest them all because it's time to sow the fall carrots. I had planned to put them over there. I actually prepared that soil, but I decided to plant the beets there. So the fall carrots are going to go in the same space. The tiny ones we'll use first in my husband Dale's salads. And the green tops I'm going to freeze. The first harvest I dehydrated the greens, but we're starting another heat wave and it's going to be close to 100 this week, and I don't want to warm up the house. Now I left the bigger carrots. Let's get those harvested. Now I add our carrot tops to our green powder, which is a variety of greens that I grow all year. But you can add carrot tops to soups, stews, or make pesto with it. These could use more time. They would get larger, but I'm ready to plant the fall carrots. You can see it was raining last night. For storage, you're going to want to cut off the tops because they are going to pull the sugars from the roots. You're going to rinse them, but don't scrub them until you're ready to use them. And they're going to last in the fridge for months, I think up to 6 months. I tend to put a paper towel in a baggie and store them that way, and ever so often I change out the baggie. Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. It's the beginning of August and time to sow the fall carrots. Spring carrots were planted here, and I had prepared that area for the fall carrots, but decided to put some beets there. So recently I redug this carrot bed to make sure the soil was nice and loose, 9 inches deep, and removed more rocks. Now, these are an heirloom carrot, and I'm using my own saved seeds, so they're going to look a little different than they're used to because they still have some of the plant debris mixed in. Experience has taught me that this variety is best grown with rows spaced 6 inches apart. And I'm going to use these garden stakes to mark that out. Now I'm going to remove the garden stake and sprinkle in the carrot seeds. Later I'll come back to thin them 3 inches apart. That's going to give me the best size for the cosmic purple carrots. Can you see those tiny carrot seeds? I measured 6 inches from the ends because the spring carrots, the ones that were planted near the edge of the netting, were just too crowded. The netting brushed up against the leaves and they suffered. So I've spaced them back 6 inches for the fall. Cosmic purple carrots tend to be about 6 to 7 inches long and about an inch in diameter. They're not tiny, but they're not a really big carrot either. Now this soil also has sand mixed in. That's from raising quail. They use the sand for their dust bath. And I've also added peat moss to make the soil more loose. Now carrot seeds require light to germinate. So don't put a thick layer of soil on top of them. Just lightly sprinkle on some loose, fine soil. Now water in gently. You don't want to flood them and for the seeds to all get washed off. They should germinate in 10 to 25 days. Summertime, it tends to be quicker. But don't let them dry out. Water every day. Now, tomorrow, what's left over from Hurricane Debbie is coming here to north central Maryland. We might get 4 inches of rain. So these seeds might all get washed away, but if that happens, we'll just sow again. We'll see what happens. We need to put the netting back on to protect from the digging wildlife. Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. It's late August and it's time to thin our cosmic purple carrots. Now remember, the day after we sowed these, what was left of Hurricane Debbie arrived and we got 6 inches of rain. But it looks like the seeds didn't wash away. Now before we thin the carrots, we need to weed. Now when they're tiny, how do you know the difference between a carrot seedling and grass? Let me show you. The carrot seedling is going to have 2 leaves that curve to the sides, and in the middle it'll develop a little frilly looking leaf. Where a grass seedling is going to have a stalk, and then the leaves are going to come off of that stalk, and there's not going to be any frill. And if you aren't really sure the difference, then just leave them. You'll know pretty soon. Now we want to thin them 3 inches apart. And if you want full-size carrots, it will make a difference. Now I'm using these needle nose scissors. They're actually my tatting scissors. I like that I don't damage the plants. So if I pull out an extra seedling, the one next to it might get damaged. So snipping it off is better. And I love these long, pointed, thin scissors. Remember, around the edges, we left 6 inches. Because in the spring, the carrot leaves got really crowded up against that netting. And we spaced our rows 6 inches apart. That gives it better access to rain. These were sown 2 weeks ago. They germinated in 6 days. If you notice, some germinated later. It can take up to 21 days for carrot seeds to germinate. The oldest seedlings are 9 days old. A few seedlings did wash in between the rows, but if they're at least 3 inches from the nearby carrot seedling, I'm going to leave them. And these seedlings are about 1 inch tall, and you can wait until they're about 2 inches to thin. But I had the time today, and the weather's just beautiful. It's nice and cool. Cosmic purple carrots are about 1 inch in diameter and about 6 to 7 inches long. They're not a tiny carrot, but they're not an extra large carrot either. These will be ready to harvest in 7 days, about mid-October. And I don't need many carrots because I only use them for my husband Dale's salads. When they're young, like right now, they need an inch of water every week. As they mature, they need 2 inches of water a week. And I'll link in the description how to figure out how many gallons per square foot is an inch of water. We need to put the net back on to protect them from urban wildlife. That was probably a skunk digging there. Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. It poured last night. The wind blew, and for 20 minutes we had hail. Let's see what's been destroyed in the garden. Many of the carrot seedlings are laying flat on the ground, but I don't think they're broken. Tomorrow when the sun comes out, hopefully they'll all stand back up. Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. My name is Judith, and today we need to weed our fall carrots. Now these were sown early August. And I thinned them to 3 inches apart about a month ago. Now for full-size carrots, you don't want to crowd them, and you want to have them weed-free. We had a hailstorm about 3 weeks ago, and if you watch that video, at that time the carrots were small and they were all flopped over, but they've stood back up and recovered well. The soil is really soft because it's mixed with sand, and I've eliminated the rocks about 9 inches deep. This variety are purple cosmic heirloom carrots from my own saved seeds. They make about a 1 inch in diameter carrot that's about 6 inches long. Squirrels up on the roof looking at me like, what are you doing? That's a volunteer tomato. The squirrels like to sit on top of that net dome and eat tomatoes they steal from the neighbor. So I guess some seeds dropped in there. These are going to be ready to harvest mid-October. Now we need to get the net put back on because the squirrels will dig in here. Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. It's the end of November and time to harvest the fall carrot. Now we sowed our fall carrots at the beginning of August, about 3.5 months ago. The net protects them from the squirrels digging, so let's get this off. Unfortunately, squirrels can chew through that netting if they're stubborn. Those things aren't cheap. So that's a slug. That's one negative of using mulch. It's easy for slugs to hide, but it's worth it for me because it really cuts down on my watering. Like these carrots, the whole month of October, we didn't have any rain. It was really dry, but I didn't water. Now the bricks, I'm going to put those back in the empty spots. I use them to hold in the soil because over the years I have built up lots of new soil, about 1 inch every year, since I do the no-dig method. And when I moved here, bricks were free, so that's what I've continued to use. Now this variety is cosmic purple carrots. Originally, they were free seeds from Baker Creek many years ago. But these specific carrots were grown from my own saved seeds. I think I've been saving seeds for 3 years. And I need to remember to leave one to make seeds for next year. I hope I don't forget. Wow, these are huge, much better than the summer carrots. And these are going to be sweeter too. So they could have been harvested in October, but it was like summer weather and the beginning of November too. So I purposely waited for the weather to cool off to make the carrots sweeter. We'll see if they're all that big. Now, 3 days ago, I harvested one for Dale and it was big like this, but it was still sweet. The greens look good too. I wasn't sure if I wanted to save them or not, but most of them look healthy. Now this is an average size carrot for this variety. They tend to be 6 to 7 inches long and about 1 inch wide. So this is an average size. And a beautiful purple color. There's a few tiny ones, but that's okay. That's normal. Now I need to remember to leave, I think I'm going to leave these 3. So I probably need to mark them somehow, so hang on a minute. Carrots are what's called a biannual. They have to go through a warm spell, a cold spell, and then a warm spell again to make seeds. Now, I sowed these at the beginning of August, and I did water them every day until they germinated. And then probably for about a week after they came up. And they germinated in just 6 days. Just perfect timing, because Dale, my husband, we use carrots mainly in his salads, and I just ran out. I tend to plant carrots twice a year. Now this soil is very soft. I mixed in sand and peat moss and removed as many rocks as I could find, about 9 inches deep. But if one of the carrots is stuck, it's best to push down, then pull. Also twist a little bit too. Now, it can take carrot seeds up to 21 days to germinate, and sometimes the small carrots are from seeds that germinated after I had thinned the carrots. And sometimes the smaller carrots are in the middle and the leaves get shaded out. But most of these are a good size and they are going to last. The weeds aren't bad. I did weed once or twice. I'd have to look back at the videos. But not bad. There's just a few weeds right now. Now I'll sow again in April. I think it's mid-April here. This is a fantastic harvest. I am really satisfied. Okay, I realize I can't leave these uncovered because the squirrels will dig here. So I need to cover them. I think easiest for now is a low tunnel. So that means I need to pull up these taller stakes. And bitter cold is coming soon, down to the teens. And 3 weeks ago, it was in the 80s. Crazy weather. So for now, I'm going to protect them, but later I'm going to extend this tunnel down to cover the lettuce too. Now, carrots can handle a freeze, but not a really, really deep cold like that. Good morning and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. Yesterday we harvested our carrots and today we're going to rinse, process, and dry our greens. Now I'm going to cut these up as I rinse. Go ahead and any damaged brown or old leaves that you find, go ahead and throw those away. Like this one, for example. But some are okay, like this leaf here. It's changed colors because of the cool weather. So we're not actually going to throw them away, but of course compost them. We're going to add them to these eggshells. That's interesting. It looks like some kind of worm or grub or something. I plan to dehydrate the stems too. Rinse them until the water's clear and there's no more dirt. Tends to be about 3 times. I'm going to spin them dry, then add them to the dehydrator tray pretty thickly. They're going to wilt down quick. It's a good time to keep looking for damaged leaves. And if the leaves stick over the tray some, that's fine. I can fix that later. Don't have to be exact right now. But make sure you don't block that center hole where the air blows through. Growing, saving, and processing your own food, yeah, it requires a lot of time, but it's worth it to me because I love it. I don't always love the work, but I don't do it to save money. I do it for the enjoyment because I love being outside, and I do it for our health. So I've just spent an hour working on this. Of course, filming adds more time to that. Altogether, I'm probably going to spend about 2 hours processing these greens. Now let's speed things up. As it dries, it's going to compress. And then we can just brush off the leaves that are sticking out. Like I said, it doesn't have to be exact because that can be a challenge. Now let us get it set up in the dining room. If you want your greens raw, you want to set the temperature on 115 degrees Fahrenheit or below. But today I've put it on the vegetable setting, which is 135 degrees, because raw takes more time. But sometimes I dehydrate them raw and sometimes I don't. Now let me show you how I use them. After they're dried, I crush them up and store them in gallon jars. So this is our recent moringa harvest. We're going to add the carrot greens to this jar. These are our summer cabbages. It was the outer red cabbage leaves. Now these are the beets we recently harvested. And this here is a mixture of variety of greens, lettuces, turnip greens, probably the summer carrot greens, just a variety that we've mixed together. And later I'm going to grind these up in this dedicated coffee grinder. I only use that for greens. Then we'll store that powder in quart jars. So after it's powdered, this is what it looks like. It's just a mixture of a variety of greens. Then I fill capsules for natural vitamins. I'm currently out of my green capsules, but here's an example using our beets. Then every day I take 12 green capsules. This is for this afternoon. So I'll take 6 green capsules in the morning and 6 green capsules in the afternoon. I also take beets, liver, fish oil, and seaweed. So these are morning vitamins and afternoon vitamins, 2 weeks worth. Good morning. Judith here, and welcome back to Withrow Urban Homestead. It's time to rinse and store our recent carrot harvest. So we harvested these 3 days ago, and I just put them in a clean trash bag and kept them in the fridge. Now I've already cleaned this sink, and I want to fill it with cold water because I want to rinse off the dirt. Now, I don't want to scrub them today because that's going to ruin the skins, and we want the skins to protect the carrots as they store. Just want to gently rinse off this dirt. Now we want to trim off the ends and any of these roots and also the top leaves, because if we leave those, they're going to rot and it's going to become slimy. So we're going to cut both of these off. Well, this is the biggest one, and it's almost too big. I'm starting to feel like it's going hollow inside, like it's going to send up a flower stalk. But the top that you cut off will heal over. It'll dry out. Then when it's time to use your carrots, then you want to scrub them or peel them if you want, and you're going to trim off the top again. Now I'm going to leave them to air dry. I store my carrots in a baggie with paper towels to absorb the moisture. Then I put them in the refrigerator crisper drawer. Then about every 2 weeks, I'm going to change out the paper towel, and I tend to put them in a new baggie. Now these are going to last me for 6 months if I keep my eye on them and take out any that are going bad and change out the paper towels. We use these for dill salads.